Zendesk, Colin Murphy.
Hi, everybody. How are we all doing? I realize I'm the caboose before the break, so I'll try not to be boring. I'll do my best not to be boring, I promise. I got to hear most of what Sasha was going through, and I got to hear all of what Dan talked about this morning. Very, very practical things that we can talk about that hopefully that everybody can take a little bit from each of these conversations and apply it to how you operate your day and how you operate the team. So today, I'm going to spend time on what I think are sort of the keys on making an impact really quickly in a complex organization. I'm about 7 months into my time at Zendesk, 210 days. I'm still in the number of days mode and describing my tenure here. There's a lot of things that you can do to sort of optimize how those first 100 days go, how the first 200 days go, and the plan this morning is to go and take you through at least some of the ways that I've approached things at Zendesk and also in other new roles that I've taken on. So why don't I go to the next page here, or not? There we go. I'm going to skip this because I think everyone in this organization, or everyone in this room, is familiar with Zendesk. And what I've realized in the last 7 months is that I get very extreme responses to me being the Chief Customer Officer at Zendesk. I get a lot of people who come to me and are super fans of Zendesk, and then I get some people that are the opposite of the super fan. I don't know what label to put on that, but nevertheless, it just reinforces, I think, the opportunity I have in front of me as the new Chief Customer Officer. But just, I think what is worthwhile to note is, and this is good and bad, the complexity of Zendesk is such that we have very big customers and then we have very, very small customers. I have customers that reach out to me on LinkedIn that are having issues and want to have a conversation that pay us $3 million a year, and that could be a message that's right on top of another message on LinkedIn of a customer that pays me $789 a year. And serving both of those customer needs is doable, but it can be challenging. So that's kind of the complexity that I find myself in at Zendesk. This is one of my favorite quotes, and it's something that I constantly revisit, and it's one of my favorite things to say. And I'm sure people who work with me, work for me, work side by side with me probably get a little bit annoyed with this, but I really like this. Not that I was a huge Alice in Wonderland fan, but I really like this saying. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And I think that this really fits in this context of how do you make an impact in a short period of time, right? You gotta have a point of view on how you're gonna spend your time and how you're gonna try to make an impact right from the get-go, because those first 100 days, those first 200 days are very important with how you solidify yourself as a leader in a new organization. So with that, I'm going to cover these 5 elements of a blueprint. Again, some of this stuff, you may, if you look at this, may seem like Captain Obvious stuff, okay? It may seem like Captain Obvious, but sometimes the simpler, the better, right? And I'm going to hit on 2 of the blue boxes there on the left in subsequent slides, so I won't spend a lot of time there. But I will spend time on, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to hit on the why, what, and the where, and I'm going to hit on the comprehensive 100-day plan on the next couple of slides. So I'm going to skip to operating cadence and metrics, recurring comms, and customer engagements, okay? So what's really important, at least for me, I'm an operator, right? So what's really important in those first 100 days is that you sort of establish how you're going to run the railroad, right? Dan talked about the importance of leading and lagging metrics. I heard Sasha talk a lot about metrics through the doors and the piece that I saw. But I think if you're running a complex organization, it's important for your direct reports, it's important for the people that you're working under, and it's also important for the rest of the organization to know how you're measuring yourself by. And that starts with how you want to run the organization. So what that means, operating cadence, to me is, I lean on a couple of really simplistic concepts. Number one, I use a staff meeting that is somewhat formulaic, and it's 90 minutes every week. And we have a kind of a recurring set of topics that I want to make sure that we hit once or twice throughout the quarter. And then for a period of time that we're not covering a recurring topic, we may have special topics that come in. And then we also have time for roundtable. Twice a quarter, we also have the extended leadership come in. So this is sort of my directs and then my directs. So it ends up being a pretty large call. But we do those calls to show everybody and to drive awareness around the core metrics that we're trying to drive, right? And so we end up doing kind of, I'll use the term mini QBRs for each of the CX disciplines. So in support, PS, our sort of programs team, our CS sides of the business, and renewals. And we do those kind of QBR 2x2 boxes twice a quarter, and we have 80 people on the call. I know it seems unwieldy, but if you do it that way and everyone is structured with it, again, you can reinforce to the next level down your whole entire leadership team. Again, what is being talked about, what's good, what's bad, the things that we need to course correct on, the things that we need to spend more time on, the things that are going well. That staff call, that staff structure to me is super important. The other thing that I do in the context of operating cadence and metrics is I start kind of proactive information sharing outside of the organization and up and down the organization. So customer health reporting, professional services reporting. We're doing very specific adoption status and adoption kind of progress of adoption customers across adoption cohorts. And so I'm sending that stuff out on a regular basis, on a recurring basis, so it becomes consistent. It helps with fire drills. It helps negate fire drills from the top down. It helps reinforce to the rest of the organization the things that are really important. And it helps the leadership team focus on the things that really, really matter, right? And it's sort of that, just getting that operating cadence up and running. I think the third thing that I do, and this sounds heavy, but across the CCO organization, I focus on the seams. So where professional services and CS need to come together in very specific, I said, customer moments of truth, getting the leaders to be working together on a regular basis. So in the context of support and CS and customer success and renewals, professional services and CS. And so there's sort of a recurring set of topics around adoption, around value-driven renewals, around customer health, around onboarding health, that I sort of instrument up and down the organization. And I did that at Zendesk, and I did that. It takes on slightly different flavors at different organizations. But again, it just sort of reinforces that operating cadence and how you want to run the function, which I think it's a really important element of those first 100 days. Recurring comms. Dan talked a lot about the importance, and I used to do this in communicating up, and I talk to Tom and everybody so often, I feel like I don't need to write them notes about what I'm doing, but I think Dan's right, and I'm going to start doing this, which is every quarter, do a little bit of a look back on what's working, what isn't working, what's next, talent that we've hired into the organization, things like that. That's a good reminder. But what I am doing now is I'm ensuring that different kinds of comms are happening down and side to side across the organization on what we're doing. So actually, just this morning, I did a 200-day update video, 15 minutes, 8 slides. It's mostly me yapping, trying to reinforce things that I had said 3 months ago. But sending those videos out are really important. Written messages are really important. Formal Sort of informal gatherings, sort of ask me anything sessions, really important. Encouraging my leaders to be doing that on a regular basis. Again, just getting up and down the organization. The CCO organization is 750 or so. In order to actually get the team moving in the direction you want to get them moving, it's not about the top 20% of the organization. It's not about the bottom 20% of the organization either. It's about how quickly you can get the middle 60% of the organization to move in the direction, generally speaking, that you want everybody to move. And sometimes that's difficult. So the way you do that is through operating cadence, and the way you do that is through communication on a regular basis. And the final thing of the blueprint, and I'm going to go back into two of these other things, is customer engagements. Again, this is a Captain Obvious comment. You should, as the Chief Customer Officer, you should talk to customers, yeah, obviously. But I think it's important for two reasons. It's important, number one, so you can get firsthand understanding of the things that are going well with customers and the things that are maybe an opportunity for improvement, different sizes of customers. I mentioned we have really small customers, we have big customers. I talk to any customer. So that's just important. It helps with pattern recognition really, really quickly. It also gives you credibility really, really quickly. Almost equally as important is when you're talking to customers and you're diving in with the account teams, you're diving in with the CSMs, you're diving in with the AEs. It grounds you as a leader. And I think that's, again, almost equally as important. Again, if you're trying to get that 60% of the organization to move, you got to try to touch as many people as you possibly can, right? And what better way to do that than to show that you're willing to, on a regular basis, go in and roll your proverbial sleeves up and make things happen, right? So I think that's a really important element of engaging with customers, is just showing the account teams modeling good behavior and also just getting into the details. So I do want to spend just a few minutes before I get into pitfalls around the plan. And I actually took pictures of my plan. Yes, I love my Word documents here. It's 5 pages. The thing about plans are once you write the plan, it's immediately out of date, right? And that's okay, right? I'm a U.S. presidential history guy. I learned all the U.S. presidents when I was in 2nd grade for some odd reason, and I haven't forgotten them. And so that's like a thing. I like presidents. James Madison's my favorite president. He was like this big. The thing with James Madison is he wasn't the smartest guy in the room. He's a smart dude, don't get me wrong. But what's cool about James Madison is he always had a plan. And if you have a plan, if you come in with a plan, most people don't come in with a plan. If you come in with a plan, you automatically have a leg up. So in this context, like writing something down and then sharing that plan was really important. And I've done this at a few different places I've been. I did it at BMC, I did it at Integral Ad Science, I even did it at CA. So, and my plans have evolved over time, but the important thing is that it's not top secret. What's important is that this should be a forward-friendly plan. And as part of the plan, I cover kind of 30, 60, 100 days. What do I want to output? What do I want to output that's internal? What do I want to make sure that I'm trying to do externally? I also have almost an even more important concept is the idea of writing down the questions that you have before you start. Because once you start, you get swept up in the madness that is the new gig, right? And you can get overcome by events, or you can turn native, right? And part of the reason why you want to make sure you're bringing in your own perspective, right? So if you write things down in the beginning and you write your questions down and you evolve it over time, like this is a really good way to make sure everybody else understands the things that you're coming in, the questions you have, but also for yourself, like in a mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive way, get things down on a paper, right? So that is my favorite thing to do, which is write plans. Second thing, which goes to the comms topic, very quickly, zeroing the organization on what that North Star is, at least getting some alignment across your leadership team around the things that need to be done from a what standpoint, not how they do it, but what, and then laying out for the rest of the organization the destination of where we're trying to go. And I like to think of it in terms of like 30 months. Well, why 30 months? Well, because 5 years is forever, and 1 year is not long enough, right? So I just pick somewhere in between, 2.5 years. They say, when I roll out of bed 2.5 years from now, what do I want to be able to say about the organization, right? Factually, in very simplistic terms. So reinforcing that North Star, which us is customers, customer adoption, and actually Dan said it perfectly today. If customers adopt the things that they buy from you, they're going to be successful, more likely to be successful, and if they're more successful, they're going to be more likely to stay with you. If they stay with you, they're going to be more likely to buy more software from you, right? That is the focus. How do we make customers successful? Our metric that we're focused on right now is it is gross retention. I know that sounds unsexy and boring, but right now it definitely is. It will become net retention very, very quickly, but my main focus area right now is definitely gross retention. And the to be known fors, we're starting to communicate that out to the organization so that everyone can get an understanding of where we as a leadership team are headed. Landmines, and then I will shut my fat yap, like Martin Crane says from Frasier, and I will take any questions you all have. Landmines can definitely get you, and I already kind of covered one here, which is going native too quickly. That's really, really important. Part of the reason why why you have an opportunity to reinvent yourself a little bit, but you have an opportunity to reinvent the organization by coming in from the outside. So going native too quickly is generally frowned upon, right? So that's why writing things down ahead of time is super important. Going to the upper left, upper right, to your right there, trying to do too much too fast, which is connected to not moving fast enough. I generally measure progress in the context of quarters. I found out pretty quickly at Zendesk in dealing with with Tom Eggemeyer, who's a very fast-moving gentleman, that quarters was not fast enough, so I had to move in months. And I've since shown him that I know what I'm doing, right? And so I have a structure, and I know how I'm moving. I'm moving with urgency, but I'm being deliberate, and I'm putting points on the board, doing all the things doing many of the things that I put down on that 100-day plan, 120-day plan. But finding that balance between not coming in with all the answers, and this idea of like, hey, I need to just listen. You always have to listen, but like making sure that you're listening, yes, you have to listen. You have 2 ears and one mouth, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're choosing what to make progress on, but not moving too fast enough, which, by the way, is an art. It's a balancing act. But I think these are just things you just need to keep in mind. The landmine is if you don't keep those things in mind, right? Not listening enough, not moving fast enough, but also trying to do too much too fast. Also, in the first 100 days, missing an opportunity to reset expectations and setting a new pace. I used, in my update this morning to the team, I used three Ps today. I used everyone needs to have a point of view about the customer and where they should go and how the customer could be more successful. Be persistent in championing that across the ecosystem, and change the pace. It's hard to do that. If you're there 6 months and you don't talk about pace and you're not trying to light a fire under people, you may lose that opportunity, because then it's going to be like if you start talking about that 9 months in, people are going to look at you and be like, well, dude, you've been here for 9 months. How come you haven't talked about this at all? So if you're not trying to raise the pace of the organization, if you don't do that in those first 120 days, I think 120 days, you lose an opportunity for sure. And I'll end on this slide, which is just now I'm 200 days in, and some of these things I'm already sort of on to some extent, but we need to continue to have an operator's mentality across the organization. I mentioned the seams, like where the magic is where we have those concentric circles across each of the CCO functions. We need to show up to customers in a much more unified way. accelerating the CCO program and using tools as opposed to using tools to accelerate the program. Again, having a point of view on what it is you're trying to do before you use a tool to try to do it, I think is really important. And then a lot of my focus all the time, but now for the next 6 months, is recruiting folks, bringing new people in, and balancing it with talent that I have internally. So, I was the caboose. I only caught a couple of people sort of nodding off. Hopefully I was mildly entertaining. What kind of questions does anybody have here? Question, first row.
Yeah, when you talked about the importance of getting to meet with customers continuously when overseas, have you developed, at least for your enterprise, your top 50 accounts, any type of executive sponsorship program? So you have a format process to all of your execs meeting with customers?
We do, and so I'll tell you what not to do, and then what to do. And I say this lovingly. If Chris is here, Chris is not here. Chris Donato, who's my Chief Revenue Officer, and others. We've done a lot of really good things, I think, in the last year. One of the things, though, we tried to push was this, all of our top 3,000 accounts assigning exec sponsors to. I came in, I was like, 3,000 accounts? I mean, like, I love the enthusiasm, but you can't run a true exec sponsor program on 3,000 accounts. So we've ratcheted it back now. We're trying to focusing on the kind of 250 accounts. Yes, and we do have a structure where we've identified, call it 20 executives that are across those 350 accounts. I give us on a maturity level, probably on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably like a 6. I think our first start of trying to do too many accounts across too many executives was a bit of a false start. So now we're trying to retrench the program. Yeah. Yes, Miranda. Yes, you were one of the former that I mentioned there in the front there.
15 years Zendesk customer. I have been the bearer of your success in not a positive way.
Okay.
Even though I'm still a fan.
Okay.
I specialize in small companies, small startups. I'm curious, when you have a massive customer base like Zendesk,
Yeah.
how are you thinking about my segment and making sure that they feel loved?
Yeah.
You probably can't afford to give them the love you gave them 15 years ago.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We may not be able to give them the. Yes. Let me paraphrase, Miranda. The question is, Zendesk has big customers and we have smaller customers. We've taken our eye off the ball on the smaller customers for sure. How do we put our eye back on the ball?
Well, how are you balancing it? Because I'm actually going through that in my company as well, where I have a lot of little ones, and it's really,
Yeah. Well, when I first came in from a CX perspective, I just looked at where we were spending CX across we divide it in customers that spend less than 100,000 with us and then more than 100,000. I could immediately tell that we were way underinvested in less than 100,000. Just when you looked at where the numbers were, where our churn and contraction was coming from, I immediately, 30 days in, just looking at the numbers, I could tell that we needed to change the investment mix. And then I use that as a way to reinforce in product and in sales that this isn't just a CX and CX challenge. This is the whole ecosystem. So that was the first thing we did. The thing about Zendesk is we have big customers and we have 75,000 small customers. And although we may not be able to pay as much attention as we did 15 years ago, we can pay a heck of a lot more attention than what we were paying 5 years ago. Because I've seen what we were doing just looking at the numbers, and I can tell that there was this shift to trying to chase bigger customers, and which was successful in many ways, but we kind of left those smaller customers behind. And so although I can't go back 15 years, I can certainly go back 5 years, and I can now look forward the next 2.5 years. And we've doubled the size of the CS organization on the scale part of the business. We're linking it much more closely, sales and CS on the scale part of the business. The product team, it's a board level priority because half of our churn and contraction comes from smaller customers and the other half comes from the big customers. So I'm not going to be able to get to what I told everybody is that we're not going to be able to get to our 90% number and 110% NRR if I don't if we don't start taking care of the smaller customers, right? And Tom is a big proponent of that. Tom's the CEO, Chris, the whole executive team. I was the last ad of the executive team, but the whole executive team has changed in the last 3 years. And there is a singular focus on ensuring that we not just spend time on our big customers, but we really do need to spend much more time on our smaller customers. And that's product and CX. And I can tell you that we're doing it. And like I said, I get customers, I probably in the first 210 days, and I'm over by a minute, but in my first 210 days, I think I've talked to 118 customers, which I impressed myself with that. It was more than I expected. It's probably half and half as far as smaller customers and bigger customers. So, good question. Thank you. Oh, Dan. Well, last question, and then I probably have to get punted here.
Nice talk. The messy middle, I'll call like the messy middle. You step in an organization, I think a lot of people, you change roles. What are you doing to actually get those people on board? Are there practical things you're still earning trust?
Yeah.
And I have been challenged with this of like joining a new company. So I'm just curious of like practical advice for people around like, what do you do for the messy middle? Are there ways to communicate? Like, how do you set expectation with them? Are you individually meeting with ICs? Like, how do you get like, especially an organization of your size, to actually move?
It's a good question. Number one, I do that what, why, and where is really important, and getting as many people to connect with what it is we're trying to do, I think is important, because fundamentally people want to connect to why am I doing what you're asking me to do. Oh, okay, that makes sense. We're trying to do it because we think it's going to help customers adopt the software, and that's going to lead to better gross retention, per your point earlier, Dan. So specifying that is really important. I think making it a point to have those informal and formal conversations with individuals. I run sort of a virtual open door policy. Anybody can come and ask me questions. I actually have set conversations with 10 people, and I kind of mix the organization, and I just have very open, transparent conversations about what it is we're doing it and why. So I do a lot of those. The regular communication is really important too. Setting commitments and then continuously coming back to it. Like just today when I did my update, I went back to the commitments that I made 3 months ago, and I gave myself a grade essentially. So just being honest with people. And the fourth thing is, I'm a Midwesterner. I married a gal from Queens, but I am a Midwesterner. I'm sort of a cross between somebody from New York and Chicago to some extent. I have high expectations, but I'm super reasonable. But at the end of the day, I want to set people up to succeed and give them every opportunity to succeed, but I've also set no uncertain expectation that if you don't do the things that we need to do, then we will find other people who will. So, I'm nice about it. I say it with a smile on my face, but I'm consistent. And so it's very much a carrot versus a stick, but at the end of the day, we need to be able to get in front of customers, and we need to be able to actually drive performance, to your point earlier, Dan. So sometimes you need that stick there as item number 4. These lights are super bright, by the way. All right, I think I am officially done. I'm 4 minutes over. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of the day.